How high will the price of Bitcoin go in the next 12 months? I found a list of price predictions of some legendary investors, entrepreneurs, and analysts. And you're going to be shocked about their price predictions. In this video, I'm also going to share my predictions and how these relate to the price predictions of the people that are on this list. And before we dive into this, I need to say that all of this is pure speculation. Nobody has a glass ball and knows exactly where the price of Bitcoin will go. So why am I making this video? Is it just hot air that I'm sharing with you here? Or is there something to it? Well, I personally believe that you can learn a lot from studying successful investors and successful entrepreneurs and analyzing their rationale. In the self-development world, they have a saying, success leaves clues. When I first got into investing, I started to binge watch so many interviews of successful investors, and I started to read books of people that actually have proven track records in the world of investing. I often talk about Warren Buffett, one of the greatest investors. Well, there's more investors, of course, that have a really great track record. And in this video, I'm going to share what their perspective is on Bitcoin in the short term, short term, about 12 months, so that you shouldn't just copy blindly what they're thinking and doing. No, I'm sharing this so that you can formulate your own assumption and hypothesis about what the price of Bitcoin is going to do. And based on this information, you can create your own entry and exit plan. Why is this important? Most people tend to lose money in the markets. And I hate to tell you the truth, but 90% of the people lose money in the markets. And why is that? Because they don't have a game plan for their money. And if you don't have a game plan for your money will become part of someone else's plan, someone that does understand how to handle money. All right, so that's a lot to digest, and we're going to break it all down into greater detail. And if you want to see more similar videos like this one, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to my channel, because I'm going to post regularly throughout this crypto market cycle to ensure that you are well positioned and that you understand what is going on so that you can maximize your profits as a crypto investor. All right. I'm going to start sharing my screen and we're going to discuss who these people are on this list. I believe the account that shared this list, that compiled all of these price predictions, is called Bitcoin Mindset. It's a Twitter account, and they shared a list of, I believe, 50 people and their price predictions. I'm not going to go through all of these price predictions. I'm going to go through some of the price predictions which I think are interesting to look at, because they are either based on some kind of rationale, or the people who gave these price predictions are noteworthy and do really have a good track record and something to say, or some experience that makes it credible. So the first person which price prediction I'm going to share with you is Arthur Hayes. Arthur Hayes is the founder of one of the OG exchanges called BitMEX. BitMEX, back in the days, I'm talking about 2 bull market cycles ago, was one of these spots to trade crypto. Nowadays, there's a lot more competition in the industry of crypto exchanges, but Arthur Hayes was in this space very early on. He was a big pioneer, and still his exchange BitMEX is being used quite a lot, not as much as back in the days, but he is someone that is very well connected, someone that has seen a lot in this space, someone that has kept an eye on the crypto market very, very closely, and that has been involved in many of the changes that has recently that has happened in the past few years in this industry. Arthur Hayes is known for his great post on Medium. So once in a while, he writes really nice long form posts, which he drops on his Medium. And also he has a really big Twitter following. So what does Arthur Hayes, the co-founder of BitMEX and one of the early crypto pioneers, you could almost see him as similar to CZ, the co-founder or the founder of Binance. Although CZ was much bigger and bolder in his vision of where he wanted to take Binance as a crypto platform, Arthur Hayes was definitely out there as a pioneering figure. So Arthur Hayes believes that Bitcoin could go to $1 million per Bitcoin in this bull market cycle. And why is that? Well, if you look at the fundamentals of Bitcoin, supply and demand, there's a very limited supply of Bitcoin. I always emphasize this in all of my videos. On the other hand, there's an very rapidly increasing demand for Bitcoin. You see that countries are evaluating whether they should hold Bitcoin on their balance sheet as a strategic reserve asset. We also see Bitcoin spot ETFs, large asset managers. There's a lot of institutional FOMO right now that is occurring in the market. So he believes that if you take all of that into account, then even this bull market cycle, the price of Bitcoin could go all the way up to $1 million per Bitcoin. Of course, he's not expecting that it will stay there for weeks or months or even days. It will probably be a very short period of time, and it will probably be the result of a huge supply shock happening in the market. So that is what Arthur Hayes thinks. Now, I hope you're curious to find out who the next person on this list is and what his or her price prediction is. But before we continue, I'm really curious to hear what your price prediction is for this upcoming crypto bull market, and in particularly your Bitcoin price prediction. So share it in the comments below. I'm really curious to read your price predictions. And now let's continue with the next person on this list. So the next person on this list is called 𝗗𝗶𝘀𝗶𝗺𝗶𝗺𝗃. And 𝗗𝗏 is actually one of the early employees of Facebook, nowadays known as Meta. And yeah, through his early involvement in Facebook, he got a bunch of stock, which was worth quite a lot. And later he became a venture capitalist, a big investor, a very well outspoken personality within the investing space. And 𝗗𝗏 actually believes that the price of Bitcoin, he doesn't believe, yeah, he gives a very particular price range. He believes that Bitcoin could go somewhere to 497,000, so almost 500K, all the way up to $1.1 million per Bitcoin. So 𝗗𝗏 is a billionaire. 𝗗𝗏 has a crazy net worth. He is very connected in the tech space. He's a venture capitalist. He's keeping a very close eye on the market. And he believes that Bitcoin could go all the way up to 1.1 million. This is in line with what Arthur Hayes is thinking. Maybe it's one magnitude larger, what Arthur Hayes is thinking, because he just says $1 million per Bitcoin. 𝗗𝗏 gives a range, but it could go all the way up to 1 million Bitcoin. And again, this comes down to supply and demand economics. There's just a very limited supply, while on the other hand, the demand keeps on increasing. And in such a scenario, you might see an insane supply shock in the market, which could drive the price of Bitcoin all the way up to $1 million per Bitcoin. Now, the next person is Plan B. If you've been living under a rock and you don't know who Plan B is a Dutch institutional investor. He used to manage a lot of money, hundreds of millions, billions for family offices, so wealthy families who wanted to look for ways to invest their money. And a few years ago, he discovered Bitcoin, and he is a very analytical, mathematical person, and he started to make a model which is now known as the stock to flow model, which has been the go-to model for people in the crypto space to get an understanding of what the price of Bitcoin could do. Plan B has been quite accurate in predicting the price development of Bitcoin. However, his prediction of the previous bull market cycle was off. He expected that Bitcoin could go all the way up to $100,000 per Bitcoin in the previous bull market cycle, and it didn't. So there's a few theories about why his model could still be intact. One of the theories that I personally believe in is that the previous bull market cycle ended too early. Meaning that, generally the market tends to go up, it pumps, it dumps a bit, it pumps, it dumps a bit. So you have these small corrections, and during these corrections, people tend to get really fearful, especially the retail investors who's, most of these retail investors were in the market for their very first cycle. They were well invested. They put a large chunk of their wealth into crypto, and then the market corrects down, which is already quite scary, and people start to panic. And at that same time that we saw one of these corrections, we had some more fear in the market about a war in Ukraine and Russia breaking out. And this created an even bigger fear and panic in the market, which resulted in a cascading sell-off in the market, which in turn started the bear market, which I believe way too early. And I believe that last bull market cycle, we did have the potential to reach $100,000 per Bitcoin. So plan B, let's go to plan B's predictions. Plan B believes that Bitcoin could go all the way up to $800,000 per Bitcoin. That is quite a high number. And according to him, Bitcoin will have a lot of catching up to do this bull market cycle in order to make up for the cycle that ended too early in the previous bull market. So he believes that right now we're going to see an accelerated bull market, which is going to make up for all of the lost gains in the previous cycle. If that's going to happen, we don't know. His model has been very accurate in the previous market cycles. Will it be accurate in this cycle? We don't know. But at least he's a very well outspoken person within the crypto space. A lot of people look to his advice. Also, a lot of investment funds, wealthy investors follow his advice, watch his models. So he is definitely someone to keep an eye for. And I highly recommend you to also follow him on Twitter or X, or how you want to call it, because he posts a lot of interesting charts and updates. The next person whose price prediction I want to share with you is Mike Novogratz. Mike Novogratz is the CEO of Galaxy Investment Partners, Galaxy Digital, which is an investment fund that is very involved in the digital asset and the crypto space. Again, this is someone that's very, very deeply rooted in the industry, has a lot of intel, has a lot of connections, a lot of news, insider circles that he's involved in. And he believes that the price of Bitcoin could go all the way up to $400,000 per Bitcoin, which is crazy. But again, if in the previous bull market cycle, when Bitcoin dumped to $5,000 per Bitcoin right before the bull market started, if you would have asked people if they would believe that Bitcoin could go to $67,000 within a period of 12 months, everyone would basically tell you no. They would call you crazy, but again, it happened. When Bitcoin was at $3 and you'd ask people if they'd believe that Bitcoin would go to $100, they would tell you you were crazy. So now we are at a point in the crypto market cycle where if you hear these numbers, $400,000 per Bitcoin, $1 million per Bitcoin, people would call you crazy. But so would they would also call you crazy in the previous bull market cycles. But in retrospect, it's very easy to say like, oh yeah, I predicted that in the previous bull market cycle, Bitcoin would go to $67,000 per Bitcoin. I'm telling you, 99% of people in the crypto market are skeptical. They don't believe it until they see it. But when the price of Bitcoin starts to pump, then everyone starts to become greedy and they start to pour their money in. And that's when we start to get this accelerated FOMO in the crypto market, which drives the price of Bitcoin to these unprecedented heights. The next person, someone who I really look up to, is Robert Kiyosaki, author of the book Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And I always say that Rich Dad, Poor Dad is an absolute Bible for everyone that wants to learn how to become financially free. This book explains in very simple language how people can become financially free by avoiding liabilities, things that cost you money, and by investing in assets, things that increase in value or pay you a cash flow. And Robert Kiyosaki, if you follow him on Twitter or in general, if you join his email list, he talks a lot about Bitcoin, gold, real estate, silver. And he believes that the price of Bitcoin could go to $300,000 per Bitcoin in this bull market cycle. Why is that? Well, the money printer keeps on printing more money, which means that your money is becoming worthless over time. And when money is becoming worthless, people search for a safe haven to park their wealth. And Bitcoin, according to him, is one of those really great safe havens, which allow people to protect themselves against inflation. And not only that, also helps them to get a really nice return, because again, it all comes down to scarcity. He likes to invest in things that the government cannot print more of. So the next person on this list is Alex Becker. So Alex Becker was well known for posting about e-commerce back in the days. He was an influencer or an online entrepreneur teaching people about online businesses and in particular dropshipping. Afterwards, he pivoted towards building a SaaS company called Hyros, which he did very successfully, made a lot of money along the way. And in the past few years, he's also been posting quite a lot about crypto. And a lot of people follow his advice, follow his YouTube, follow his Twitter account. And when he posts, he tends to move markets. He sort of resembles what the retail investors are thinking. So a lot of retail investors, a lot of average investors, I would say, follow him and just blindly copy what he is saying. So looking at what he is saying gives you a really great general understanding of where the market is. And what does Alex Becker believe that the price of Bitcoin will be in the next few years? Well, he believes that it could go all the way up to $300,000 per Bitcoin. So again, that is someone that believes that Bitcoin could go all the way up to a few $100,000 per Bitcoin. Then we have Tim Draper. Who is Tim Draper? Tim Draper is a well-known investor, and he is known for buying up a large amount of Bitcoin, which was confiscated in a criminal case. He bought it at an auction very early. I believe it was around 10 years ago, more or less. So he has a big bag of Bitcoin, and he has been involved in the crypto industry for 10 plus years. That's a lot longer than most of us have been around over here. And Tim Draper believes that Bitcoin could go all the way up to $250,000 per Bitcoin. And I want to make a side note over here. I believe that this is a range which I'm also looking at. So I believe that Bitcoin could go somewhere between $200,000 to $300,000 per Bitcoin. That is, in my opinion, a realistic scenario. Is it a guarantee? No, it's absolutely not a guarantee. But if you look at all of the developments within the crypto space, within the Bitcoin market, all of the large buyers that are coming into the market that have billions to invest, then I do believe that it is possible. Up till now, Bitcoin has been a retail market, and now we're seeing the institutional whales that are stepping in. This is going to be a crypto bull market that we've never experienced before, and it is happening right in front of our eyes. We are about to make history. Which also brings me to the following. On this list is also a bank called Standard Chartered. Standard Chartered is a well-known bank. It has branches all around the world, and more recently, it has been very active about sharing his opinion or sharing their opinion about Bitcoin and the crypto market. And this is part of an overall shift in the market, which I call the Great Pivot. Why do I call it the Great Pivot? Well, up till now, banks have been some of the biggest skeptics of Bitcoin. Why? Because they feel like it undermines their business, because people don't require to use banks anymore to make transactions. Up till now, banks have had mere monopolies when it comes to transactions, but now there's also other alternatives which they do not like and which they cannot control. And they have been fighting it with smear campaigns, with media campaigns, and with policies that are banning Bitcoin or banning transactions that are related to crypto. But they realize now, finally, that they cannot fight it. It is a logical progression in the financial space that crypto needs to be there. It has a role in society. So rather than fighting it, they're now slowly embracing it, starting with Bitcoin. And according to the calculations of Standard Chartered, they believe that Bitcoin could go up to $250,000 per Bitcoin. So that's a bank, and a bank has a whole team of analysts that are making these calculations. So it's not just a single investor or a small group of analysts. No, this is a bank with analysts in many different industries, in many different countries, which pull together their research in order to come to this conclusion. Let's continue. The next person on the list is Max Keiser. Max Keiser is another well-known influencer in the crypto space. Max Keiser is actually an American Salvadorian broadcaster. He hosted here you see it, he hosted the Keiser Report, which is a financial program which basically discussed the economy or economies around the world. And nowadays, he's the personal advisor to the president of El Salvador, President Bukele, which is now adopting a Bitcoin strategy for its country. It's the first country to adopt Bitcoin as a legal tender. It's all over the news. El Salvador keeps on buying more and more Bitcoin, is very open to attracting Bitcoin and crypto investors to their country. And they've gone through a very big, how would you say it? A very big evolution with their country, making it a lot better than it was before by embracing Bitcoin. And Max Keiser has played a big role in that. So when you look at some of the big Bitcoin events, for example, Bitcoin 2024 or some of the other Bitcoin events, Max Keiser always is a speaker on stage. He has a really great opinion, really great understanding of the market. And he believes that Bitcoin could go all the way up to $220,000 per Bitcoin. So another person that believes it is going to be in the 100,000 range. And these people are not random investors that are investing their first few $100s in the market. These are seasoned investors that have been around for quite a while. Now let's look at the next person on this list, which is Anthony Scaramucci. Anthony Scaramucci has a background working at Goldman Sachs. So in case you don't know Goldman Sachs, that's one of the largest investment banks, really great reputation. And he now has his own investment fund. Here you see it, Goldman Sachs, private equities. Yeah, so he's a very well-known person in the finance space. So what does Anthony Scaramucci believe that the price of Bitcoin will be? Well, he believes that it is going to go to $170,000 per Bitcoin. I think that is quite a realistic range. Again, what I mentioned, I believe that it could go somewhere between $200,000, $300,000 per Bitcoin. That will be for a very short period of time. I think it's just going to shoot up and then correct down. Anthony Scaramucci believes it's going to be a little bit lower than that. Let's have a look at the next person, which is Tom Lee. Tom Lee is the managing partner and head of research at Fundstrat Global Advisors. Again, a very well-known person in the investing space. And Tom Lee believes that the price of Bitcoin could go to $150,000 per Bitcoin. If you look at simply supply and demand economics, I do think there is a fairly reasonable chance that something like this might happen. I've made my own personal calculations, my own entry plan and exit plan with more conservative numbers. So somewhere around this range, $150,000 per Bitcoin. And I'm definitely going to be taking some profits when this price point gets hit. The next is Michael Saylor. Michael Saylor is the CEO of MicroStrategy, which is a publicly traded company. MicroStrategy is known for adopting a Bitcoin treasury strategy. So a few years ago, they were sitting on a pile of cash and they had to make a decision for themselves what they were going to do with that money, whether they're going to invest it in short-term treasury bills, in real estate, in other types of investments. And they came to the conclusion after doing a lot of analysis that Bitcoin was going to be the primary asset that they were going to invest their treasury in, because there was no other asset that promised the same risk-reward ratio as Bitcoin would to them. So they started to buy heavily into Bitcoin. Right now, I believe they're one of the top 3 biggest Bitcoin holders. Michael Saylor is very outspoken. I recommend you to follow him on X and to listen to a lot of his podcasts on YouTube. He's also known for making a very bold prediction that Bitcoin is going to go to somewhere between, I think, $10 to $25 million per Bitcoin in the next 21 years. And part of his rationale is that he believes that governments are going to allocate funds or basically are going to print fiat money in order to buy up Bitcoin to hold it in their treasury as well. So he believes governments are soon going to FOMO into Bitcoin. And that is justifying his long-term price prediction. But on the short term, he believes that in this bull market cycle, Bitcoin will most likely hit somewhere between 150K to 200K per Bitcoin. And again, this is someone that is very deeply rooted in the crypto space right now, has a lot of connections in influential spaces. He really closely monitors everything that's happening in the space, and he believes that Bitcoin could go to 150K to 200K. I believe that's definitely a realistic price range. Then finally, let's talk about Dan Moorhead. Dan Moorhead is the managing partner of Pantera Capital, an investment fund. Here it says the first investment fund in the US to launch digital currency, early stage token and blockchain venture funds. He believes that Bitcoin could go to $148,000 per Bitcoin. So that's quite in line with the past few 2-3 people that I shared with you. And then finally, JP Morgan, another bank on this list. JP Morgan and their team of analysts believe that the price of Bitcoin could go to $146,600 this bull market cycle. So 2 banks on this list, a lot of legendary investors, a lot of well-known entrepreneurs. So who should you believe? Well, it's really up to you. I shared this list of people and their predictions with you so that you can form your own conclusions, your own assumptions, your own hypothesis about what you believe is going to happen in the crypto market. And based on this, you can create your own entry plan and exit plan to maximize your profits as a crypto investor. Again, if you haven't yet shared your price predictions, I'm really curious what they are. What do you believe that the price of Bitcoin will do in this bull market cycle? Drop it in the comments below. And if you enjoyed watching this video, make sure to hit the like button and to subscribe to my channel for more videos, because I'm going to be posting regularly throughout this crypto market cycle to make sure that you have an edge in this market. That being said, peace out. See you in the next one.